Welcome to the Deep Dives, your shortcut to being genuinely well-informed, where we plunge into a towering stack of sources, research, and insights to extract the most potent nuggets of knowledge specifically for you. Today, we're embarking on a really profound and expansive deep dive. We're traversing centuries and continents, drawing wisdom from an incredibly diverse collection of traditions. Think of us as your guides through this vast spiritual library.
It's quite a collection we've got lined up.
It really is. On our journey, we'll be consulting ancient scriptures like, well, the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishad.
The Dhammapada, the Torah, and the Quran. Foundational texts, really.
Exactly. And we'll also delve into the profound mystical texts from the Christian tradition, things like the Cloud of Unknowing, St. John of the Cross's Dark Night of the Soul.
And St. Teresa of Avila's Interior Castle. Deep, deep mystical insights there.
Absolutely. And we're not stopping there. We're also exploring modern spiritual perspectives, found in books like Conversations with God and The Untethered Soul.
And pulling in some key philosophical and psychological viewpoints, too.
Yeah.
From Sam Harris's Waking Up, Plotinus's Innies.
Right. And the Philokalia, Theologia Germanica, Don Miguel Ruiz's The Four Agreements, Gary Zukav's The Seat of the Soul.
We've even got Aldous Huxley's The Perennial Philosophy, Tara Brach's Radical Acceptance, Marcus Aurelius.
The Tibetan Book of the Dead, Pema Chodron's When Things Fall Apart, Autobiography of a Yogi, Ram Dass.
Bonhoeffer's Cost of Discipleship, Rumi. I mean, it's a real journey through wisdom traditions.
It truly is. And our mission for you is to navigate these rich, sometimes, let's be honest, turbulent currents of thought. We'll explore the underlying truths about, well, the nature of the self, the pathways to spiritual growth, and our inherent connection to what many call the divine.
Or just, a deeper reality.
Precisely. It's about finding those aha moments, those surprising echoes of shared human experience that resonate deeply with your own curiosity, helping you connect the dots in your own understanding of life's biggest questions.
And what's truly illuminating here, as we look at this huge library of human wisdom, is how these seemingly disparate texts, born from different eras, cultures, spiritual experiences, they keep circling back.
They do, don't they?
Yeah, they circle back to incredibly similar core questions and fundamental human experiences. We'll be looking for those enduring patterns, the deep connections, and maybe try to understand why behind these shared human endeavors, this push to understand our existence, our place in the cosmos, our inner world.
Which raises a really important question for all of us, right?
It does. In a world just inundated with information, I mean, how do we discern universal wisdom, those common threads that transcend time and place? How do we separate that from what might just be culturally specific beliefs or, practices?
Yeah, finding the signal in the noise.
Exactly. And our sources today offer a remarkably rich tapestry, a vibrant mosaic, you could say, for doing just that, for that discernment.
Okay, so let's dive right into one of the most fundamental questions, really. What is the self? I mean, it's a concept we all think we understand, don't we?
We use I all the time. Feels pretty solid.
Right. We say I, we feel like this singular, unified entity, the captain of our own ship. But many of our sources suggest that what we commonly perceive as our individual self might not be the whole story, or at least not the complete story.
It gets complicated quickly.
It really does. In fact, some modern perspectives challenge this idea quite directly. For instance, Sam Harris, in his book Waking Up, tells us quite plainly that the very sense of a unified subject, that consistent I that feels like it's experiencing everything, is in fact an illusion.
An illusion, that's a strong word.
It is. He argues it's not a single central command center, but rather a brilliant construct produced by a multitude of separate processes happening in the brain, processes we're not even consciously aware of and certainly don't control.
Wow. So it's like our brain is creating the feeling of I.
That's the idea. And here's where it gets really interesting and quite scientifically provocative. Harris even points to the study of split brain patients as evidence.
Oh, I remember reading about those cases. Fascinating stuff.
Right. In these rare cases where the connections between the brain hemispheres are severed, you can actually observe distinct, almost separate streams of consciousness. It's almost like there are two eyes operating simultaneously within one person.
So actual neurological evidence for a divided consciousness.
Exactly. It's not just theory. It's an observed neurological phenomenon.
Yes.
So that feeling of being a single, unchanging self might just be a very convincing, albeit complex, brain-generated construct, like a kind of ongoing magic trick performed by our own gray matter.
That idea from waking up is a profound challenge to our everyday experience, isn't it? I mean, really shakes things up. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it finds an echo, maybe surprisingly, in ancient wisdom, though obviously expressed in a more mystical language.
How so?
Well, Plotinus, the great Neoplatonist philosopher in the Enneads, offers a complementary idea. He suggests that our soul doesn't descend in its entirety into the physical realm. He posits that something of it always, and I'm quoting here, always remains in the intelligible world.
The intelligible world. Wait, what did he mean by that exactly?
Well, for Plotinus, it refers to a realm of pure intellect and being, a higher, non-physical reality. And he explains that when the part of the soul that is in the sensible physical world becomes dominant, or more accurately, if it gets disturbed and subjected to the chaos of this world, its desires, its fears, its distractions, it actually prevents self-awareness, of that of which the upper part of the soul is in contemplation.
So the noise of the physical world grounds out the awareness of that higher part.
That's a good way to put it. What's fascinating here is the convergence. The modern view suggests the self is a complex brain-generated construct, almost like a user interface for consciousness. Plotinus, centuries ago, suggests layers of self, an inner observer, a deeper, more pristine part of our consciousness that exists beyond the everyday, often turbulent physical and psychological self.
It's like our true self is anchored elsewhere.
Exactly, even while a part of us navigates the material world. The powerful insight arising from this pairing isn't just that the self is complex, but that both cutting-edge neuroscience and ancient mysticism, despite their vastly different languages, kind of nudge us towards the idea that our everyday I is not the ultimate reality.
Right.
The shared powerful invitation is to transcend this ego-bound self and discover something far more expansive, whether you call that an empty space of pure awareness or a divine eternal connection.
That's a really compelling synthesis, suggesting this deeper infrastructure to our identity. So if that's true, if our everyday self is an illusion or maybe just a fragment, and a deeper part of us is always up there or elsewhere, then it begs a fascinating question. How do we remember that higher aspect of who we are?
How do we reconnect?
Exactly. Conversations with God offers a striking, almost provocative perspective on this very question. It states that our job on earth is, quote, not to learn, because you already know, but to remember who you are.
Remember as in put back together.
Precisely. This text posits that we as souls actually caused ourselves to forget who you really are upon entering the physical universe. And the purpose, to allow us the freedom to choose to be who we truly are, rather than just waking up in the castle, so to speak, with no agency, no choice in the matter.
So the forgetting is actually part of the design to allow for genuine choice.
That's the idea. And it's not about blaming ourselves for this forgetting. It's about the profound power of choice. As that same text emphasizes, and I love this line from the old Pogo comic strip, we have met the enemy and they is us.
Yes, that's a classic.
It argues that until you are willing to take responsibility for all of it, you cannot change any of it.
Yeah.
This idea that we chose our state of forgetting and are responsible for remembering, it really puts the ball firmly in our court, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It suggests our current condition, whatever challenges it presents, is a result of past choices, and therefore future choices can lead to a different outcome. Radical responsibility.
Exactly.
And that idea of choice and radical self-responsibility leads us directly to the role the ego plays in this process of forgetting and remembering. The untethered soul delves into this personal aspect with remarkable clarity, I think.
How does it describe it?
It describes how we tend to close down and protect ourselves by pulling a kind of shell around the part of you that is weak. This shell, it argues, is actually protecting your ego, your self-concept.
So it's a defense mechanism.
Exactly. It's not physical protection, obviously. It's a mental and emotional defense against perceived psychological threats, things like emotional disturbance, fear, insecurity. The text highlights how this hypersensitivity leads us to constantly use immense energy to close around it and protect ourselves from these perceived threats.
It sounds exhausting.
It is. But here's the catch. This only hides the problems. It doesn't fix them. We're essentially locking our own discomfort, our own perceived illness, inside this protective shell.
We trap ourselves in our own defenses.
Precisely. And this ties powerfully into A Course in Miracles, which offers a parallel insight. It states, guilt makes you blind. By projecting it, the world seems dark and shrouded in your guilt. You are afraid of what you would see there, but it is not there. The thing you fear is gone.
Wow. The thing you fear is gone. That's liberating.
It is, isn't it? Both texts, though, from different traditions, are really encouraging us to look within, to confront these perceived weaknesses or guilts, not with fear, but with a willingness to see them for what they truly are or maybe are not. The insight here is profound. The very act of protecting our ego, of walling ourselves off, is what prevents us from seeing the truth of our being, which is ultimately beyond fear and guilt.
So we're spending all this energy defending something that, in the bigger picture, might be insubstantial anyway.
Exactly. We're guarding an illusion, maybe.
That's a powerful parallel. The thing we fear inside is gone, and our defensive posture actually prevents true healing. Building on that, the idea of where our true identity actually lies is further illuminated by the Philokalia.
Ah, yes, the collection of writings from the Eastern Orthodox tradition.
Right. It offers a more direct hierarchy saying, the flesh belongs to the soul, but the soul does not belong to the flesh. For the lesser belongs to the greater, not the greater to the lesser.
That's beautifully succinct.
Isn't it? It reframes our entire understanding of self. It's not just a matter of different parts of the brain, like waking up might describe it, but a fundamental relationship between our material and spiritual existence.
The soul is primary.
Exactly. It suggests that our physical being, our body and its associated experiences, is really a vessel or an instrument for something far more profound, our spiritual essence, which is central and primary. This really grounds the idea that our truest identity isn't bound by the physical or the ephemeral, but by something more enduring.
Something greater.
Yes. Okay, so if this idea of the self is far more complex and nuanced than it initially appears, a construct, a fragment, maybe a veiled essence, then how do we actually connect with that deeper reality? How do we access that intelligible world Plotinus spoke of? Or remember who you are, like Conversations with God suggests?
That's the crucial next step, isn't it? The how.
It is. And across the board, many traditions, both ancient and modern, point towards dedicated inner practice. It's not just about thinking about it, it's about doing something.
Active engagement.
Right. For example, the Cloud of Unknowing, that anonymous 14th century mystical text, speaks of a privy pressing of love.
Privy pressing of love. That's intriguing phrasing.
It is, and a high and a wonderful cloud of unknowing betwixt him and his God. It's suggesting it's not about intellectual understanding or theological debates. It's about a direct, loving encounter with the divine that actually transcends rational thought.
Beyond concepts.
Exactly. A deep, yearning love that presses through all concepts. The text also highlights a hearty sorrow for sins, not necessarily self-punishment in a punitive way, but as a profound longing for love and union with the divine, a recognition of anything that separates us from that ultimate connection.
A yearning, a desire for wholeness.
Yes. And if we consider what a sustained inner pressing truly entails, it brings us beautifully to a complementary practice found in the Way of a Pilgrim.
The Russian spiritual classic.
That's the one. This text illustrates the very concept through the prayer of the heart, a practice of unceasing internal devotion, often associated with the Jesus prayer. It states that it is through prayer that one acquires the ability to perform good works.
So the inner work fuels the outer action.
Precisely. It's not just about thinking good thoughts, but actively engaging in a continuous inner dialogue or state of devotion that then naturally spills over into outward action. The inner life transforms the outer life.
And what's truly fascinating here is how many of these traditions incorporate the idea of purgation, a stripping away, of imperfections, desires, attachments, as a necessary step towards transformation.
Purgation sounds intense.
It can be. St. John of the Cross, in his seminal work, Dark Night of the Soul, describes the passive night of the senses not as an end in itself, but as a crucial, divinely orchestrated preparation for what he calls fruit of union with God.
Fruit of union. What does that mean in practice?
Well, that term sounds quite academic, maybe. But at its heart, St. John of the Cross is describing a profound, direct, and deeply fulfilling experience of oneness with the divine, a spiritual consummation, if you will, that moves far beyond just intellectual understanding or fleeting emotional comfort.
Okay. More than just feeling good.
Much more. He explains that during this challenging period, God actually weans them from the breasts of these sweetnesses and pleasures, gives them pure aridities and inward darkness.
Weans them. Like taking away spiritual candy.
That's a great analogy. It's almost like God takes away the spiritual sweets or desserts that beginners often rely on, those initial feelings of comfort, joy, or clear revelation. And this is seen as a deliberate act, forcing the soul to seek a deeper, less sensory, more profound connection that doesn't depend on immediate gratification.
So it builds spiritual muscle, in a way.
You could say that. Similarly, St. Teresa of Avila's interior castle, another cornerstone of Carmelite mysticism, speaks of the necessity of humility and a deep desire to suffer and to imitate the Lord rather than constantly seeking consolations. She emphasizes that the path involves marked detachment from everything.
Detachment again. That seems key.
It's a recurring theme. These aren't easy paths. They're rigorous processes designed to purify and refine the soul, moving beyond superficial spiritual experiences towards profound and lasting transformation. It's like a spiritual boot camp, as you hinted, stripping away the easy comforts to build a stronger, more authentic foundation.
It sounds demanding, but ultimately rewarding, perhaps.
Mhm.
Stripping away those easy comforts to build a stronger foundation.
Yeah. But while some paths involve that kind of intense purgation, others highlight the power of simply directing our attention in a conscious way.
More about focus and awareness. Right. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle emphasizes conscious breathing as a powerful meditation technique to get in touch with the inner body. He even suggests visualization, like being surrounded by light or immersed in a luminous substance, as a way to deepen this present moment awareness.
Grounding yourself in the now.
Exactly. It's a direct, accessible way to anchor consciousness in the present moment, shifting away from the incessant chatter and anxieties of the mind. And waking up adds to this, explaining that meditation, broadly conceived, allows us to stop suffering in many of the usual ways by interrupting rumination and reactivity, regulating attention and behavior, and increasing body awareness.
So practical benefits too. Less suffering, more self-control.
Definitely. And crucially, the Dhammapada, a core Buddhist scripture, beautifully reinforces self-reliance in this inner journey. It states, "By oneself is wrong done, by oneself is one defiled, by oneself wrong is not done, by oneself surely is one cleansed. One cannot purify another. Purity and impurity are in oneself alone."
Wow. That puts the responsibility squarely on us.
It really does, doesn't it? It emphasizes that while guides and teachings are valuable, the actual work of inner transformation is profoundly personal. It's an empowering, if sometimes challenging, message. You hold the keys to your own purification and spiritual progress.
That emphasis on self-reliance in the Dhammapada is a critical point, but it exists alongside profound traditions of devotion where the focus is much more outward towards the divine.
Like Bhakti Yoga.
Exactly. From a different angle, the Bhagavad Gita, a central text in Hindu philosophy, outlines devotional service, Bhakti Yoga, as the ultimate goal of life. It instructs one to, quote, engage their mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me, and worship me.
Constant remembrance and worship.
Yes. And the text explicitly clarifies that focusing on Tutan's personal form with great and transcendental faith is considered most perfect in yoga. This isn't just about external ritual, though. It's about a complete internal absorption and love, a single-pointed devotion that transforms the heart and mind.
A path of love.
A powerful path of love. And complementing this, Theologia Germanica, another anonymous mystical text, this one from the Christian tradition, speaks of putting on the life of Christ from love and not for the sake of reward, and the complete loss of self for the true love and true light.
Loss of self again. Surrender.
Exactly. In both cases, whether the focus is on Kanta or Christ, the ultimate aim is a self-surrendering love, a profound merging with the divine, not for personal gain or some kind of transactional reward, but out of pure, unadulterated devotion.
So different methods, but maybe a similar undercurrent.
I think that's right. The powerful insight here is that while the methodologies vary quite a bit, from rigorous purgation to focused mindfulness to ecstatic devotion, the underlying current seems to be a conscious turning inward and upward, driven by a deep desire for connection and transformation, leading ultimately to a state where the small self is transcended in favor of something vastly greater.
As we look across these incredibly rich and diverse traditions, it really is remarkable, isn't it? How we start to see patterns, a remarkable overlap. It's almost as if they're all tapping into the same underlying reality, just using different languages, metaphors, cultural expressions.
It feels that way sometimes, like different fingers pointing at the same moon.
Exactly. And this isn't a new observation, of course. Aldous Huxley, in his seminal work, The Perennial Philosophy, strongly critiques what he calls theological imperialism. The idea that one's own religion holds the exclusive truth, which often leads to conflict.
My way or the highway, spiritually speaking.
Right. Instead, he argues forcefully for the recognition of a perennial philosophy as the highest factor common to all the world religions.
So a shared core of wisdom.
That's it. This isn't about blending religions into one amorphous blob, he stresses. It's about recognizing that beneath the diverse rituals, mythologies, and specific historical narratives, there's a shared core of spiritual experience and insight, a universal understanding of reality, our place in it, and the path to connection with a transcendent reality.
And Huxley saw this as essential for peace.
He did. He argued it wasn't just intellectually compelling, but absolutely essential for achieving permanent world peace. He suggested that recognizing these shared truths could bridge divides, fostering understanding rather than conflict, finding that shared spiritual DNA beneath the surface variations.
That concept of an underlying unity is indeed a cornerstone of many profound spiritual insights. Conversations with God provides a particularly powerful and expansive statement for this universal interconnectedness.
What does it say?
It declares that, quote, nothing exists in the universe that is separate from anything else. Everything is intrinsically connected, irrevocably interdependent, interactive, interwoven into the fabric of all of life.
Wow. Nothing separate. Everything connected.
It's not just a poetic notion, it's presented as an ultimate fundamental truth of existence. If you really unpack that, it means every atom, every thought, every being is part of one vast, continuous tapestry.
Mind-blowing, really.
It is. And building on this, the text presents the law of love, which states that love simply gives all and requires nothing. It then provocatively asks, if everyone in your race gave all, what would you require?
If everyone's getting, nobody needs to take.
Precisely. The implication is, if everyone were giving unconditionally, there would be no lack, no need for taking or demanding. The core message, then, is profoundly simple yet transformative. Stop seeing God as separate from you and you as separate from each other.
So shift from separation to unity.
Exactly. It shifts our entire perspective, inviting us to live from a place of radical generosity and interconnectedness. It posits that many of our societal ills actually stem from this fundamental illusion of separation.
That idea of interconnectedness and a lot of love that gives all, it sounds beautiful, but what does that actually feel like? On a personal level, how does it translate into experience?
That's a great question. How do you embody it?
Right. The Untethered Soul offers a beautiful description of this internal experience, making it much more tangible, I think. It explains that identifying with spirit, or our deeper interconnected self, is feeling love for no reason.
Love for no reason, just as a baseline.
Exactly. Your backdrop is love. Your backdrop is openness, beauty, and appreciation. It describes it as a default state of pure, unconditional well-being, a sense of fundamental okayness that doesn't depend on external circumstances.
Unlike our usual ups and downs.
Right. It contrasts this with the more common experiences of the body's discomforts or the psyche's constant stream of complaints and fears, those fleeting conditional emotions. It paints a picture of spirit as this stable, profound source of joy and peace, always there underneath.
That's a beautiful image, the backdrop of love.
Isn't it? And speaking of this feeling and how we interact with our internal states, Tara Brach's Radical Acceptance talks about joining mindfulness with compassion to create what she calls a genuinely healing presence.
Mindfulness and compassion, both are needed.
Yes. This means we are softly and kindly present with our open wounds instead of automatically judging, pushing away, or fighting against our negative emotions. It's about embracing our present experience, however uncomfortable it might be, with an open, non-judgmental heart.
Turning towards difficulty, not away from it.
Exactly. And this practice is really a direct application of that interconnected love, extending it to ourselves first. Recognizing that our inner struggles are part of the universal human experience and treating them with the same kindness we would ideally offer a friend. It's a profound shift from self-rejection to self-compassion.
And this sense of unity, whether you experience it as boundless love or as this compassionate presence, it echoes across philosophical and spiritual traditions. It really suggests the kind of universal trajectory. Theologia Germanica suggests that all good things are of one substance in the one good.
All goodness comes from the same source.
Right. And it further states that in true light and true love there neither is nor can remain any I, me, mine, thou, thine, and the like.
The ego dissolves in that unity.
Exactly. It points to an ego-dissolving experience where individual identity merges into a greater unity, a oneness where the distinctions of ego simply fall away. It's not presented as a loss, but as an expansion.
An expansion into something bigger.
Yes. And the Upanishads, those ancient Hindu scriptures, also speak to a progression towards this higher state. They outline 5 stages or sheaths of Brahman realization.
5 stages.
Yeah, starting from the basic anamaya, which is dependence on food for existence, our most fundamental material state. Then moving through stages related to life force, pramaya, mind, jnanamaya, wisdom, vijnanamaya, leading to the ultimate anandamaya, which signifies an all blissful nature.
So a clear progression towards bliss and unity.
It implies a clear, step-by-step progression towards a more profound, unified, and blissful state of being. And interestingly, within this journey, the concept of bhakti, or devotion, is also noted as crucial for liberation.
Devotion comes up again.
It does. It reinforces the idea that love and surrender are integral, regardless of the specific philosophical framework you're looking at. The common insight here seems to be that this unity isn't just a concept, but an experienced reality that we can cultivate and move towards through conscious practice, ultimately leading to a state of profound, unconditional joy.
Okay, so if we embrace these profound spiritual insights, that the self is multifaceted, that inner work is paramount, and that unity and love are these universal truths, how do we then live them out, in our daily lives? How do we translate these lofty spiritual concepts into concrete action, into ethical behavior in the world?
That's the critical question, isn't it? Where the rubber meets the road.
Exactly. And many of our sources stress the importance of ethics and integrity in action. They demonstrate that spiritual realization isn't just about internal states, it's about how we treat each other and the world around us.
It has to manifest outwardly.
Right. The Quran, for example, offers very clear directives for righteous living. It emphasizes being fair witnesses, practicing justice with unwavering impartiality.
Justice is a key theme there.
Absolutely. And showing loving kindness towards parents, which is a foundational ethical command in so many traditions. It also specifically calls for not killing your infants for fear of poverty, reflecting a deep concern for the vulnerable and a powerful directive against desperation-driven acts.
A real social conscience embedded in the spiritual teaching.
Definitely. Furthermore, it strongly forbids associating nothing with him, with God emphasizing monotheism and the singular source of all being, and it forbids indecencies, encouraging moral purity. This isn't just about personal purity, though. It seems to be about how our inner spiritual alignment manifests in our social, familial, and community responsibilities, creating a just and compassionate society.
Indeed, personal responsibility for our actions and their broader impact is a recurring theme that spans these diverse texts. Conversations with God challenges us to take responsibility for all of it, meaning the collective choices humankind has been making and continues to make that shape our world.
Taking responsibility for the whole picture.
Yeah. It reframes the issue not as one of blame, but as one of choice, asserting that until you are willing to take responsibility for all of it, you cannot change any of it. This is a powerful call to both collective and individual accountability for the state of the world.
Recognizing our agency, our part in it all.
Exactly. It's not about pointing fingers, but about recognizing that we are all, in a sense, co-creators of our reality.
That's a big responsibility.
It is. And complementing this, Gary Zukav's The Seat of the Soul positions choice as central to human evolution, leading to what he calls authentic power.
Authentic power. What does he mean by that?
He distinguishes it from external power, power over others. Authentic power is power within oneself, particularly when the choices made are responsible choices. It's about consciously choosing actions that align with our deepest spiritual understanding, our soul's intent, rather than just reacting to external circumstances or societal pressure.
Choosing from a deeper place.
Exactly. The powerful convergence here is that true spiritual living seems to demand a conscious engagement with the world through our actions, understanding that every choice we make has energetic and ethical ripples that extend far beyond ourselves. It's about cultivating awareness not just of what we do, but why we do it and what impact it creates.
This emphasis on choice and responsibility extends even to our words, which is something I think we often overlook in our daily interactions.
Words have power, definitely.
They really do. The Four Agreements, a highly practical guide by Don Miguel Ruiz, gives an incredibly powerful directive. Be impeccable with your word.
Impeccable, meaning without sin, essentially. Clean.
Right. Speaking truthfully, intentionally, constructively, both to others and, crucially, to ourselves. It points out how often we use words against ourselves with negative self-talk. The internal critic saying, oh, I look fat, I look ugly. This agreement highlights that our internal dialogue, the words we speak to ourselves, shapes our reality and our self-perception far more than we often realize.
That internal chatter can be brutal.
It really can. And Conversations with God expands on this idea of communication, urging us to communicate our truth lovingly, compassionately, sensitively, courageously, and completely. It stresses avoiding half-truths, or even brutal truth.
So honesty tempered with kindness and courage.
Exactly. It emphasizes that our intention and delivery are just as important as the content. It even offers a nuanced perspective on negativity, suggesting that all negativity need not be shared with the person about whom it is felt, but rather we should find ways to get these negativities out, to release them.
Process it ourselves, perhaps, before dumping it on someone else.
That seems to be the idea. It's about processing and releasing internal negativity through personal reflection or safe sharing, without necessarily burdening others with unexamined emotional baggage. It encourages us to ensure our communication is constructive and loving, while still honoring our own emotional landscape.
And beyond the careful use of words, many traditions highlight the foundational importance of obedience and the willingness to bear burdens, which can sound a bit harsh,
Yeah,
maybe.
it can sound difficult, yeah.
Yeah.
Obedience burdens.
Right, but they're often viewed not as punitive, but as transformative. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the German theologian and pastor who resisted the Nazis,
A figure of immense courage.
immense courage. In The Cost of Discipleship, he speaks to the necessity of obedience, making the profound statement that the step of obedience must be taken before faith can be possible.
Obedience before faith, not the other way around.
That's what he argues. It's a challenge to act first, to step out in faith and commitment, rather than waiting for full intellectual understanding or absolute certainty. It's an active, existential leap, you could say.
Taking the plunge.
Yes. And he defines being a Christian as being called upon to bear, just as, in his view, the Son of God bore our flesh, he bore the cross, he bore our sins. Now, this isn't presented as a call to misery or martyrdom for its own sake.
It's not about seeking suffering.
No. Rather, it's presented as a path to peace and refreshment for the soul, ultimately leading to the highest joy and profound communion. It's about taking on a sacred responsibility, understanding that in doing so, we paradoxically find true lightness and connection, rather than the heavier burden of self-will and isolation.
So freedom through commitment, joy through bearing burdens.
That seems to be the insight. True freedom often lies in surrender to a higher purpose and the willingness to embrace life's challenges with courage and faith.
That's a powerful, counterintuitive idea. And, some sources even challenge the very societal norms and structures that often dictate our lives, urging us to question how we live out these truths in a broader context.
Taking the critique outwards to society itself.
Exactly. Robert Pirsig, in Zen, in the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, critically examines the education system. He notes that the idea that most students attend university for an education independent of the degree and grades is a little hypocrisy everyone is happier not to expose.
Ouch. Calling out the focus on credentials over genuine learning.
Right. He suggests that the motivation is often external validation grades, career prospects rather than true, intrinsic learning, or the pursuit of wisdom. It's a sharp critique of how our institutions can subtly undermine genuine inquiry.
And Conversations with God touches on education too, doesn't it?
It does. Echoing a similar sentiment, it laments that schools often do not teach what it means to be honest, responsible, aware of other people's feelings, and respectful of other people's paths, arguing these are actually the most important things in life.
The core human virtues aren't on the curriculum.
That's the argument. These critiques suggest that true spiritual living demands a reevaluation of fundamental societal values and how they might actually hinder, rather than support, our collective human evolution and the cultivation of essential virtues.
So it's a call to broaden our definition of education and success to include inner development and ethical living, aligning our external systems with our deepest spiritual truths.
Exactly, a big task. Okay, let's turn now to perhaps the most universal human experience, the one that touches us all and often shapes how we live: death. How do these diverse traditions view it? Is it an absolute end, a terrifying void, a transition, or something else entirely?
The ultimate mystery for many.
It really is. Conversations with God presents a truly radical and, I think for many, profoundly comforting idea. It says, quote, "You don't ever die. You cannot. For you are life itself."
Wow, you don't die because you are life.
That's the core idea. It directly calls death an illusion, stating unequivocally that impermanence is the only truth. Nothing is permanent. And instead of fearing it, it actually encourages us to love death as we love life, seeing it not as an end, but as part of an eternal flow, a natural transformation.
Embracing impermanence, even death itself.
Yes, it even suggests that after physical death, the soul learns that it can go anywhere, with the speed of its thought.
Hmm.
It can be in 2 places at once, or 3 places, or 5.
That paints a picture of incredible liberation, doesn't it? A profound expansion of consciousness.
It really does. Beyond the confines of the physical body, suggesting this boundless, multidimensional existence, it's a radical reimagining of what we are and what happens when our physical form dissolves, replacing fear with curiosity and maybe even excitement about the journey ahead.
That concept of death as an illusion and a transition finds fascinating parallels in ancient traditions that meticulously detail the post-death experience. The Tibetan Book of the Dead, for instance, offers a comprehensive perspective on intermediate states, or bardo after death.
The Bardo states, I've heard of those.
Right, so if we imagine it, the bardo is like a kind of spiritual obstacle course for the consciousness after death. It describes experiencing bewilderment at the time of death and then encountering visions of the peaceful and wrathful deities in the intermediate state of reality.
Peaceful and wrathful deities are these real entities.
Well, in the Tibetan Buddhist view, these deities aren't external beings per se. They are vivid, intense experiences, some beautiful, some terrifying, which are actually understood as projections of your own mind, manifestations of your own karma and consciousness playing out.
So encountering aspects of ourselves,
Well,
essentially.
exactly. But crucially, the text doesn't advise attachment to these visions, however alluring or frightening they might be. Instead, it strongly advises not to be attached to them, do not cling to them.
Detachment again, even after death.
Yes. It's a powerful reminder that even in profound spiritual experiences, especially in these transitional states, detachment from even blissful or terrifying appearances is key to navigating towards liberation. The core teaching is don't get caught up in the show, don't cling, because attachment, even to a blissful vision, can keep you trapped, preventing you from moving to the next stage of liberation.
It's like the ultimate test of letting go.
It really is.
Yeah.
And Conversations with God also adds that in this post-death state, you may choose to have every question you ever had answered, and that your free will extends even past our death, meaning you can choose to reunite with loved ones or choose to move on to further experiences.
So consciousness and choice persist.
It's a testament to the enduring power of our consciousness and will, even beyond the physical realm, according to these texts.
So, okay, if death is not an end, but rather this profound transformation, and maybe even an expansion of our free will, how does that perspective inform and shape our current lives? How should we live if impermanence is the only truth and our consciousness continues?
How does it change things now? That's the key.
Right. The Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, offers timeless counsel here. He advises, don't form designs as if you were to live 1,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while you may, become good.
A call to urgency and virtue.
Exactly. This isn't about morbid fear or despair, but about emphasizing the urgency and preciousness of the present moment. It inspires us to cultivate virtue, live with integrity, and become our best selves now, without delay or procrastination. It's a powerful call to seize the day, not just for pleasure, but for profound moral and spiritual growth.
Live fully, live well, because time is finite.
Precisely. Similarly, Pema Chodron, in When Things Fall Apart, advises us to rest in the middle of hope and fear, developing a non-threatening relationship with loneliness.
Resting in the middle, accepting the ambiguity.
I think so. It's about acknowledging suffering and all emotions without judgment, and consistently coming back to the freshness of the present moment. It's about accepting the transient nature of all things joy, sorrow, life, and death with an open heart, without resisting what is.
Acceptance of impermanence, moment by moment.
Yes, both texts, those centuries apart, compel us to engage with life's ephemeral nature, not with dread, but with conscious presence and a deep appreciation for the now. The overarching insight seems to be that understanding death as a transformation actually liberates us to live more fully, more virtuously, and more present in this life.
It frees us from clinging and fear, potentially.
Exactly. It's not about waiting for some future state, but embodying eternity, embodying our deepest values in every single moment. Hashtag tag outro. We've taken a truly expansive deep dive today, haven't we? Just covering so much ground.
We really have, from neuroscience to ancient mysticism and back again.
Yeah, from the latest neuroscience suggesting the self might be an illusion, or at least a construct, to ancient mystics and modern spiritual texts that reveal a deeper, more unified spiritual essence. We explored how diverse pathways, from rigorous purgation and disciplined meditation to joyful devotion and conscious action, all seem to aim for a deeper connection with ourselves and, well, the divine or ultimate reality.
Different routes up the same mountain, perhaps.
Perhaps. And across cultures and centuries, we uncovered these profound threads of interconnectedness and unconditional love woven into the very fabric of existence, according to these sources. For you, the learner, these sources aren't just historical documents or intellectual exercises.
Hopefully not just theory.
Right. They're more like living maps for navigating your own spiritual terrain, offering guidance and sometimes unexpected insights for your personal journey towards deeper understanding and maybe even inner peace.
And as we draw this deep dive to a close, one message that truly stands out for me, one that's consistently echoed across virtually all these traditions, is that the journey inwards is paramount. It's fundamental. And it's a journey of active, conscious participation.
It requires effort, engagement.
Absolutely. Whether that's through deep prayer, disciplined meditation, or just conscious choices in our daily lives, we are all invited, it seems, to remember, to put ourselves back together and align with a larger, more profound truth about who we are and our place in the universe.
Which leaves us with a final thought, maybe.
I think so. It raises an important question for you to ponder, one that directly echoes the insights we discussed from Conversations with God. If, as that text suggests, you cannot solve the problems which plague humankind through governmental action or by political means, and that the change that must be made can be made only in the hearts of men.
A change of heart is the only real change.
If that's the case, then what is one small conscious choice you can make today, right now, to embrace that deeper self, that interconnectedness, and contribute, even in a small way, to that essential global shift of consciousness? What's one step you can take?